The end of the world has been a concept that humans have been fascinated by for centuries. Dating back to the first century of the Common Era, predictions were sculpted around religious beliefs. In each early religious rendition, one belief system would show disdain towards the others, pinning them as the cause for the apocalypse. For a time, these predictions were seemingly used to spawn prejudice amongst disciples, in order to keep followers of different faiths from intermingling. To this day, predictions that have been made typically stem from religious beliefs. However, as the years advanced, scientists of various disciplines began providing their theories of what may happen far off into the future. With greater knowledge of the universe's functions, we've developed a handful of theories as to what will cause the collapse of our species. The expansion of the sun, the Big Rip, the heat death of the universe, etc., etc., etc. Inevitabilities that we will never have the opportunity to witness ourselves. Back to the present and not-so-distant past. As our technology has advanced, we have seen many more predicted due dates for humanity over the course of the last 3 centuries. Although religion-based apocalypses have continued to be prevalent, especially in the United States, a large number of these theories have found some root in scientific practices and political beliefs. Nuclear war, overpopulation, an uncontrollable plague, or other more eccentric beliefs. Across the majority of the proposed events, the claimants typically place the year of the world's demise within their lifetime. This, of all things, has been a constant since the first predictions. A trace of ego, perhaps? This morbid curiosity to see the end of everything is fascinating to say the least, especially when considering most of these proposed Doomsday events are grandiose in spectacle. This once-in-a-lifetime event may not be so spectacular after all. In fact, it may be a cold and slow end to it all. At least, that is how it is presented in one such piece of media. Published and developed by Hinterland Studios, The Long Dark takes players into the unforgiving Canadian wilderness, following a series of peculiar events. Flashing lights in the skies, an intense aurora borealis, the electricity inexplicably cutting out, and a winter that refuses to end. There is only us and Mother Nature's uncaring attitude. It is not a case of will we outlast the storm, but rather, how long will we wait to reach our demise? Days are cold, and nights are colder. The distant howling of predators is not simple ambience. Prepare to be severely under-equipped for both combat situations and general survival. It may be best to turn tail and run when faced with danger. Is it still cowardice if it means life or death? We are no hero. We are just another lost soul traversing this frigid hellscape in search of a glimmer of warmth, a sip of water, and a bite of food. The Long Dark exploits the player through a handful of carefully curated methods. First and foremost, we are alone in this frozen world, or rather, we are without human company and interaction. Communications have been lost with, presumably, the rest of the world. On the other hand, wildlife is plentiful and curious. Wolves traverse the ice and snow in search of prey, chasing it when the opportunity arises. In reality, it is rare that one would prefer to attack, let alone hunt, a human as opposed to a deer or rabbit. Wolves are not the only predators to be wary of when exploring. Black bears, woken from their hibernation, have taken to roaming the landscape in search of prey. Although not as aggressive as wolves, they are far more capable of cutting our life short through a brutal mauling. It may be best to err on the side of caution when exploring, as the howling wind, blinding blizzards, and dark nights leave us exposed to a potential ambush from animals unseen. Aside from the caution that comes with predatory wildlife skulking through the snow, we have a much more omnipresent element to contend with: paranoia, and its many roots. Due to our isolation and required cautionary behavior, we are likely to be left on edge at every step. This feeling will potentially diminish over time as we become more acquainted with our surroundings and better equipped to face danger head-on. Up until this eventual point, there has been a detail that follows us everywhere we go that works to paranoia's advantage: ambience. The rustling of bare branches, the snapping of twigs on crunching snow, crackling ice, strong winds, and the mesmerizing, yet haunting shimmer and twinkle of intense aurorae. Adding these disturbances to the already dangerous wilderness leads to an unnerving introduction to this frozen world, where a new player is left uncertain as to whether or not they are in danger or not. Granted, these only apply to the outside world when we are traveling. What about the interior of a structure that we have not entered prior, but have espied for some time? Depending on the type of building we intend to investigate, we may, quite literally, be left in the dark. The ambience, predictably, depends on the building materials present in the structure. Metal constructs squeak as they actively shift whilst we move through their previously undisturbed corridors. Alternatively, floorboards and rafters creak as we explore the remains of once lived-in interiors where the inhabitants have long since gone. Regardless of the setting, there is something that gives us the urge to check every corner, look behind ourselves every now and then, and slowly advance while anticipating an additional foreign audio cue to accompany that which we have grown accustomed to. As we have made it abundantly clear, the main antagonist of the Long Dark is one which we have little control over: nature. Unforgiving and unpredictable in her ruthless efforts to quell us, she is the greatest monster we could face. As for real-world horrors that we're presently aware of, nature is one of the most terrifying yet beautiful examples that tangibly exists. Few others can contend with the merciless cruelty of nature's chaotic tendencies. From the sharp dagger-like cold of an Arctic wind, to cosmic events on a magnitude beyond basic human comprehension, nature is spectacular in its capabilities. Spectacular, yet frightening. However uncaring nature may be as to whether or not we survive, she is not entirely unfair. As we had previously gone over, the remains of civilization are present for us to utilize. We are given a chance to work towards self-sufficiency at the mercy of life. Now that we have been given this chance, we must not squander it, as it may be the only one we receive. Take advantage of what is provided to you: crows circling the dead, cawing like an alarm for your attention. Derelict infrastructure is yours for the taking. Exploit the wildlife by adapting to their observable weaknesses and patterns of travel and attack. Use stealth to your advantage, sneaking your way to better vantage points. Respect your body's well-being, and it will reward you greatly. I could go on, but I believe you get the point. Nature is not looking to work against you. If that were the case, there would be nothing left. Aside from glaring outliers, such as being mauled to death on the spot, survival is a test with many wrong answers that we are permitted to learn from within reason, but not without punishment. Be clever and be rewarded. Be foolish, and the results speak for themselves. That's enough ranting and rambling. Thank you for your time, no matter how brief, and on behalf of the study, thank you and have a pleasant day.